We all say don't buy a book for the cover, but do we really follow that? Because when I saw this cover last year, I knew I needed it on my shelf, so I bought it. It's an anthology, which means it's like a collection of small stories. And I did read the first one last year, but then I needed to do a really huge school assignment, and so I kind of fell out of it for a bit. I'm gonna read it again now. Usually when I read, I like to kind of write down if I'm at like a page and there's a sentence that I really like or something that I maybe actually dislike, so that afterwards I can read it again and kind of experience the experience of reading the book again. But I thought this time I would do the same, but instead of writing it down, I'll just tell you guys. So in preparation, just because I was curious, I actually searched this book up on YouTube, The Haunting Season. And there's like one person who's made a review of it, which I thought was so funny because if I remember anything correctly about the first story, it's so good. So if you have this at home and have been thinking about saying something about it on YouTube, I would definitely do it. You should definitely watch that video as well though, it's really good. I didn't watch all of it, I only watched like very sparingly because I didn't want to spoil myself. But yeah, I would give it a watch. I tried to make this spooky, but I ended up just making a fire hazard in my home. If my hair sets on fire, that is entirely my own fault. So yeah, but I'm just gonna start reading this. And as I said, the first story I've actually read, and I remember some chess elements, but I honestly don't remember it completely, so I'm excited to read it again. The first story is A Study in Black and White by Bridget Collins. Alright, so already 1 or 2 pages in, I really like the way the house is described. I don't want to spoil too much, but there's quite a weird house. The main character sees trees that are like cut into chess pieces. He starts pedaling harder, like going fast on his bike, although it's like he won't really admit to himself that he's like terrified of the house already. I hate this character, he's so annoying. There's like a maid who gives him beer and he's like, oh, they must be unused to like educated people, because he doesn't answer his questions about a house like quickly enough. And now he wants to rent the house, and the agent is like, he's like trying to convince him, and then he just says, I'll take it, and he's like, pardon me. And then Morton thinks, why were the local people so slow to understand the simplest utterance? Like, chill. I already really like the descriptions, the way things are described as like in kind of like a dark and gloomy way. Ew, okay. There's like a child's bedroom, and I hate that. It's also strange because the child's bedroom is the only room in perfect order. Alright, so I'm at page 15, and Morton hears like something going towards him, and then he swears he sees something like a dark blur that then dissolves into nothing, and he's like, oh, it must be the wooden. I hate this because it happens right as he's falling asleep, so it's one of those moments where you're not like completely conscious, so something could totally be there and he'd like not really know for sure. It's easy to just blame your imagination when you're like just about to fall asleep. So yeah, this is terrifying. Okay, so we're getting a little bit of backstory on the house. The last owner seems to have had a son who died tragically at a young age, but we don't get to know the exact age because Morton, the annoying hoe, just like puts the pamphlet book down. So we will never know. But that explains the untouched child's bedroom that I hate. There's also the element of chess, and that's already been brought up. So there was like the trees, and there's a chessboard in the house, and it seems one of the pieces have been misplaced, but he can't be sure. And this is kind of creeping me out because like the idea of those little pieces just being slightly out of place. Ew. And Morton seems like the kind of guy who thinks very highly of himself and doesn't want to appear weak, but the chessboard is just becoming too much for him, so he ends up just shoving it all in a box. Even though like it's described that he has some kind of respect for chess, he just like tries to close the box until something gives. He thinks it might be the head of a bishop snapping off. Now he feels scared because he's kind of given into the weakness of like not liking the board there, and now he has to sleep in the house. So as I just mentioned, he shoves the chessboard into a box, and now the chess set is back on the table. And he's just had a chat with a boy who says that his mother only cleans the house on Sundays because Sundays there's nothing walking, which I don't know what that means, but that's fucking gross. Like walking, what do you mean? No. No, and the chess is back. And a bishop is splintered at the neck. So it's not like he could have imagined pushing it into the box, because the bishop is like shattered, or like the head is off. And now it's back. He's shoving the chessboard into the fire, which is like, this is creepy, right? But seems a bit dramatic maybe. Now an old man has appeared in a chair, and I like how he's described, because it's like it says he's made of shadows and hollows, there and not there. Okay, so now we go from following Morten in the descriptions to like being kind of taken out and into more general story. It starts with, it caused little surprise that Morten did not stay in the black and white house, no one ever did. So now it's more of an all-knowing narrator, which I think is a nice touch, like you get to follow Morten and then it kind of takes a step back. Right, so at the very end we hear from the boy that Morten was talking to earlier, who sees footsteps in the snow, probably from Morten, and at first they're like in a line, like he's trying to escape from the house, then they suddenly become like zigzag. It seems that he's running from something, but the something has left no trace in the snow. Should I spoil the end? Okay, if you want to read this yourself, like spring forward, do not listen. It ends with the boy discovering that the footsteps end right before one of the trees, as though Morten had disappeared entirely, taken by the Black King. Ew, no. Okay, so that's it. That's the first story. So good. I don't even, like, I remember it being good, but not that good. I'm so creeped out. I don't know. I hate this. And I'm alone home right now. I think the problem with me is that, like, I listen too much to my imagination. I'm gonna blow out the fire hazard. And if you see this, I knocked over my skull. There we go. If you see this out in a bookstore, pick it up. Thank you for tuning in for this first episode. I'm gonna make this a series, like this was the first out of 8 stories. I really hope you enjoyed this. I'm definitely feeling a bit creeped out. I hope you'll tune back in when I upload my little read-along / review of the second story, which I'm really looking forward to, but also a bit afraid of, so I hope to see you next time.